WCW 2000. The mere mention sends a harsh chill through the bones of those who experienced it. No promotion with WCW's reach and capabilities had ever driven away its audience with such piss-poor decisions and hideously laughable moments. Whenever a latter-day organization stumbles in any form, someone on social media inevitably compares them to WCW 2000. And those who know better say, oh, no, this is nothing compared to WCW 2000. I witnessed WCW 2000, you don't know what horrible is. The only thing harder than sitting through that year was narrowing this list down to merely 10 entries. I'm Sam Driver from Cultaholic Wrestling, and here are the 10 worst moments from WCW 2000. Join us.
Andrew, what are you watching there? No, Andrew, seriously, what are you guys watching over there?
Shush, Owen! Stop saying our names, we're trying to protect our identity!
Sam, how are you watching that?
Will you stop dropping us in it? They don't know where we're from.
You can't get that in the UK. Are we going to get a knock at the door?
No. We're using NordVPN.
Wow, so cool. That's radical, dude. Wow. So naughty.
If you imagine the internet like the wrestling industry, NordVPN is like a giant digital lucha mask that keeps your identity hidden online, keeps all your private information like banking and passwords safe from those dastardly dirt sheets, and it leaves no digital footprint behind. So basically, if you're looking for a lightning-fast tag team partner in these trying times, NordVPN has got your back. Not only does it look out for your data and safety, it also lets you shift your virtual location with one click to access content and streaming services exclusive to other regions, often saving you a ton of money in the process. Did somebody say cheaper PLEs? One account can be used on up to 10 devices, so no matter what you're using, Nord's going to be there waiting for the hot tag.
Ugh. And if you're the type who likes to live the gimmick, this can mean things like cheaper flights, hotels, and experiences. Dig it! The numbers don't lie. Cultaholic truly believes Nord to be the best VPN out there, and if you try it and don't agree, there's a 30-day money-back guarantee. To get the best discount on your NordVPN plan, head to nordvpn.com/Cultaholic. Not only will it get you a hefty discount, but you'll also get 4 free months off the 2-year plan. The link is in the description below. Thanks for your time, and a huge thanks to Nord for sponsoring today's video.
Cheers, lads. That's some proper good mucho content, ain't that?
Number 10. Working stiff. Of the many inane things that Vince Russo is often associated with, pole matches always bear mention. You know, hang an item aloft in the corner and have the wrestlers climb for it. In the summer of 2000, Russo sought a way to turn pole into a puerile double entendre and booked the first and only, as far as we know, Viagra on a pole match, because Viagra gives you, well, you figured it out. The premise? Shane Douglas had stolen Tori Wilson away from longtime beau Billy Kidman. Vengeful, the voyeuristic Kidman recorded the two doing the nasty, and it was learnt that Douglas couldn't perform. Humiliated, Douglas swore reprisal, and that reprisal would come, although not organically, in the form of the aforementioned gimmick match. I'm not sure what was worse, really, the idea of the match itself or the fact the Viagra was in an incorrect bottle with equally false label. And just a warning here, if you find yourself still shaking your head at this match after 4 hours, please consult a doctor straight away. Number 9. Champion of Heavyweights. WCW seemed to pull off quite a coup when they signed away reigning ECW World Champion Mike Awesome in April of 2000. Intimidating, powerful, and brutish, Awesome could bring high-impact credibility to a company that sorely needed to evolve. Despite some serious legal wrangling between WCW and ECW, the mulleted mauler did turn up as intended for WCW's April 10th kickstart, where he dismantled Kevin Nash. While booking Awesome seemed like the easiest thing in the world, i.e. have him kill everybody in his path, WCW chose to make it harder on themselves by turning Awesome into the Fat Chick Thriller, an unabashed chubby chaser that didn't make secret his particular fetish. While there's nothing wrong with having that predilection, it wasn't exactly a mojo booster for the supposedly indomitable Awesome. Shortly after, Awesome pivoted into a different comedy character, a leisure suit-wearing lounge lizard called That 70s Guy, complete with the Partridge Family bus. Some guys do need gimmicks, but an alpha powerhouse like Mike Awesome was not one of them. WCW basically took a big signing and made him a joke. Number 8, Flaming Scorpion Sauce. Really, you could do an entire anti-top 10 on things Vampiro was involved in or rough moments poor Sting was subjected to. In 2000, the two face-painted enigmas crossed paths for what sounded like a strong feud on paper. Hell, WCW may have just stumbled into their own rendition of Undertaker vs. Kane, something equally macabre. Then you remember all the dumb Undertaker vs. Kane moments and realize how sadly accurate that is. The peak of Sting vs. Vampiro was the regrettable Human Torch match at the 2000 Great American Bash. To win, you simply had to light your opponent on fire. A DIY Inferno match, in other words. In practice, what ensued was barely a match as they exchanged bog-standard maneuvers early before Vampiro threw gasoline on Sting, seemingly knocking him out? The proceedings literally drag from there as they slowly fight up the entrance scaffolding twice, disappearing into darkness. Then a larger stuntman dressed as Sting appears on fire and gets thrown from the set. Just riveting stuff. Number 7, Crappy Halloween. It's one thing to dump all over a solitary match, angle, or feud, but when a whole pay-per-view is rotten from head to toe, it bears special mention. WCW had maybe 2 or 3 decent to good pay-per-views in 2000, juxtaposed with more than half a dozen awful ones. The absolute worst of the lot was the 2000 Halloween Havoc, which made you want to leave a flaming bag of dog poo on the steps at CNN Center. If you're one of those that peruses Dave Meltzer's match ratings, know that 5 matches in a row garnered either a dud or negative stars. A crappy kickboxing match with a count-out finish, a first blood match to procure DNA for a paternity test, a DQ finish in the world title match, a 4-minute handicap closer, the worst Sting versus Jeff Jarrett match ever. It's all there for the world to see, or avoid if the buy rate was any indication. We once made Fraser watch this show for a video presentation, and he's still in therapy. Number 6, Shot into a Work. One problem of many that Russo's WCW had was its extreme reliance on playing to the internet rumor mill and lacing its storylines with all manner of inside jokes and dirt sheet gossip. While terminally online parts of the audience might pop, such angles go over the heads of the more casual observers and are hardly worth the time or effort. And WCW didn't learn this lesson in time for August's New Blood Rising pay-per-view. The event featured a 3-way bout between Kevin Nash, Scott Steiner, and Goldberg, and rumor got out that Goldberg, for reasons, had refused to do the job in the match. WCW turned his refusal into a convoluted alternate reality shoot angle, where Goldberg arrived late for the match, engaged in half-arsed supposed shoot brawling with Nash and Steiner, refused to go up for Nash's jackknife, and walked out on the match, refusing orders from Russo to go back and do the ending. When Steiner did the job instead, the announcers praised him for doing the right thing by the script. I think I'm getting a migraine. Number 5, As the Man Turns. Hang on, that's not even the worst WCW 2000 moment involving the Master of the Jackhammer. You'd think WCW would go to great lengths to protect Goldberg, seeing as he was the freshest and most popular weapon they had in their losing battle with the more popular, more cutting-edge WWF. In other words, you'd think WCW would circle their wagons around superhero Bill Goldberg. About that, going into the 2000 Great American Bash, Russo and others crowed about a major surprise taking place on the show, one that Vince McMahon was powerless to stop. If the leading Vince could have seen the immediate future, he'd have encouraged WCW to carry out that surprise, because that surprise was Goldberg turning heel. After missing most of 2000 so far with a significant arm injury, WCW's most over performer showed up at the end of the bash and almost immediately hugged Russo and Eric Bischoff, signifying their union. I'm starting to think that Vince Russo and company didn't really know what their audience wanted. Number 4, What You Gonna Sue? It was one of the most confusing, confounding, and mystifying chains of events that's ever occurred in professional wrestling. If one positive came out of it, it's that Booker T, after years of hard work, was rewarded with an overdue world title reign. Prior to Booker's hasty victory, though, Vince Russo and Hulk Hogan had an unusual spat that spilled into public view, leading to genuine litigation. Preceding the 2000 Bash at the Beach, Hogan refused to lay down for world champion Jeff Jarrett. This was turned into a worked shoot angle where Jarrett, under Russo's orders, voluntarily took a dive to let Hogan pin him for the belt. This was apparently supposed to lead to Hogan briefly leaving, WCW crowning a new champion, and Hulk returning later to feud with them. Instead, a frustrated Russo hit the ring later in the night and shot on Hogan, in particular for all of his political machinations. Furious, Hogan not only never returned to WCW, but also filed a defamation suit against Russo, which ended up getting dismissed in 2003. Number 3. Radical Exodus. Throughout the late 90s, WCW boasted one striking advantage over the rival WWF: quality of in-ring action. The brilliance of Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit, Chris Jericho, Rey Mysterio Jr., and many more greatly bolstered WCW events, putting to shame the median match quality over in the WWF. But what if the WWF managed to swipe away 4 of WCW's best wrestlers all at once? The weekend of January's sold-out card, Vince Russo was briefly sent home from the company, having butted heads with Turner Brass since his arrival. WCW then reinstalled Kevin Sullivan as Booker Man, which sent much of the locker room into an uproar. Some 20 or so wrestlers demanded releases, though WCW tried to mollify things by putting its vacated world title on celebrated workhorse Benoit. Benoit got the belt, but still wanted out. He, Guerrero, Perry Saturn, and Dean Malenko all leveraged releases following an incident where WCW agent Mike Graham allegedly threatened them with violence. The quartet then showed up on Raw just 2 weeks later. Number 2, Powers That Be champion. It was pretty ridiculous in 1999 when Vince McMahon, through fluky means, briefly held the WWF Championship. Silly, sure, but the WWF was so bulletproof by the end of the millennium that they could run a booking stunt like that and suffer no damage. WCW didn't have that same luxury in 2000, what with being the contentious laughingstock of the industry and all. Surely they'd never put their world title on a non-wrestling pencil pusher, right? On the September 25th Nitro on Long Island, Local Zero Vince Russo challenged Booker T for the world title inside a steel cage. In Vince McMahon's defense, he was at least jacked to the gills with all manner of synthetic supplement known and unknown to man. Russo was a skinny yutz in a football helmet that Booker somehow didn't mop the floor with in 30 seconds. Instead, when Booker went for the cage escape, Goldberg got involved and speared Russo right through the cage wall, giving Vinny Roo the win and the belt. I mean, what could be worse? And number 1, Ready to Stumble. Alright, yeah, that. Brilliant, yeah. There was nothing wrong with having a mainstream WCW tie-in movie starring Scream actor David Arquette, even if Ready to Rumble made Freddy Got Fingered look like this is Spinal Tap. And there was nothing wrong with having Arquette do a few appearances to hype the movie. He is a noted wrestling fan, and fans might warm to him if he's used correctly. The operative word here, however, is correctly. April 25th, 2000 was a day that will continue to live in pro wrestling infamy. Rail Thin Arquette was teamed with new world champion Diamond Dallas Page to face Jeff Jarrett and Eric Bischoff in a tag team bout, where DDP's title was on the line. And wouldn't you know it, following a series of unfortunate events, Arquette somehow pinned the 83 Weeks guy to become heavyweight champion of the world. Most fans and critics laughed and derided the desperate publicity stunt. Of all of WCW's boners and blunders in 2000, putting the big gold on Mr. Courtney Cox was the lowest of the low.